There are a couple of interesting ideas in this do now, including in that cartoon. So if you haven't yet read this and tried it on your own, please do that first. You'll benefit from it more. So pause and think about this, and then after you've done so, please then hit play. This problem starts by saying the number below is written using an unknown base number. So that makes sense. We use a variable to represent an unknown number. And it makes sense to choose the variable b for an unknown base number. Base starts with b, and the question is, oh, it's not a question, it's write an inequality to describe the possible values of b. Okay, so we know, let's just start with what we know b could be. I mean, we have a number like this, 71,044 in base 10, so b could equal 10. Let's see, could it be binary? Could it be base 2? Could b equal 2? Well, in binary we have 1s and 0s, but we don't have 4s, we don't have 7s. And so b could not equal 2. And so where's the cutoff? In other words, what could be b? It would have to be some base system that has 0s, 1s, 4s, and 7s. Well, the 7 is the key. If you think about base 10, the highest digit you see is a 9. In base 2, binary, the highest digit you see is a 1. So you take the base number and you subtract 1, and that tells you the largest value that can be represented by a single digit. And so if the largest value that can be represented by a single digit is a 7, then we could have base 8 or higher. b must be greater than 7. Or you could say b is greater than or equal to 8. That would also be any base number 8 or higher. Either one of those would be correct. It's basically trying to connect this idea of base systems to what you learned about inequalities, how to write an inequality. But essentially what it's saying is b could be any number 8 or higher. And then when you look at the cartoon, this idea of what the base number could be is reflected in this cartoon. Because the alien says there are what looks to us like 10. There are 10 rocks. But there are 4 rocks. And so the astronaut realizes that the alien must be working in base 4, and he says to the alien, I use base 10. But the alien doesn't know what he means by base 4, because in base 4 there would not be a 4. There would only be 0s, 1s, 2s, and 3s. In base 4, if you wanted to represent 4, you would represent it with a 1 and a 0, because you'd have a 0 in your 1's place and a 1 in your 4's place in base 4. And that's why the alien says there are 10 rocks, because 10 in base 4 is 4 in base 10, much the same way that 10 in binary is 2 in base 10. Or any of the other bases that we looked at, that same thing, that same idea holds. So, and now also notice the alien has 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers. Important detail.